Today, it's going to be time for the 2024 governor's prediction for the month of October. As we head toward the final sprint, there are some things that could change in some of these states. This is when a lot of voters are actually going to start paying attention. They're going to be hit with a ton of ads, and there's going to be debates. People are going to find out more about these candidates. Plus, there could be October surprises or a national environment that could change some of these races. So hopefully by early November, we can have the final map. But we've got 11 governor's elections out there and a lot of open seats. Let's start with the safe states. These would be expected to be over a 10-point margin or not really competitive. Let's start with the Democrats. We've got Delaware, and this state did have a very late primary. It's Matt Meyer, the Democrat, and Mike Ramone, the Republican. It's been a long time since the GOP won a governor's election here, and theoretically, because it's an open seat and they have a candidate that's considered more moderate, this could become more competitive. But so far, either it's too early or that's not going to happen. The lean of the state is just too blue, and this is going to stay safe for the Dems. Now, the safe states for the Republicans. We'll start in New England. We've got Vermont. This is a very blue state, but it has a liberal Republican governor in Phil Scott. He's running for his 5th term, and he's won by massive landslides in the past. This time, it should be no different. His opponent is Esther Charleston, but Scott is going to get this easily by a safe margin. Then we go west, and we've got West Virginia. This is Patrick Morrisey against Steve Williams. It wasn't that long ago that Democrats were competitive, if not dominant, here statewide. Williams, the Democrat, is going to have to run a more conservative type of campaign and have a lot of local appeal. It would also help if Patrick Morrisey makes some missteps, but overall, this is one of the reddest states out there, and Morrisey is expected to win this likely by a very comfortable margin as well, so it's also going to go safe. Then we've got Indiana. This is Mike Braun, the current U.S. Senator, against Jennifer McCormick. She is a former Republican and the former Superintendent of Public Instruction. There's also a Libertarian candidate on the ballot who got double digits 4 years ago. Given this is another open seat, it's not at all impossible this could get down under 10. So far, I'm not sure if Mike Braun is running the strongest campaign, but I think it's just a little too early to take this down to likely. We're going to keep this over 10 and safe for Braun, but we're going to keep an eye on it. Then a little bit further west, we've got Missouri. It's another open seat. We've got Lieutenant Governor Mike Kehoe against Crystal Quade for the Democrats. Kehoe won a 3-way primary where he was considered the more moderate candidate. In the general election, he should be heavily favored. The few polls I've seen do have him over 50%. It's another one to keep an eye on to see if anything changes in the final sprint. But for now, we've got to keep this at safe for Kehoe. In North Dakota, we've got another open seat. It's Republican and current U.S. Representative Kelly Armstrong against Merrill Pepcorn, the Democrat. Democrats have a pretty big drought here winning for governor in this state. There's very little polling in this state because I don't think anybody actually expects this to be competitive. I'm not going to say it's totally impossible, but at this point, it is very, very likely it's going to go toward the Republican, and it's easily going to stay safe. Next door in Montana, we've got incumbent Republican Greg Gianforte against Ryan Bussey, the Democrat. I always mention Democrats did win 4 consecutive governor's elections here up until Gianforte won 4 years ago. Something could always change, but Gianforte is the heavy favorite, so this rating is going to stay safe. And then we've got Utah. This is Spencer Cox, the incumbent Republican. There's other candidates on the ballot, including Phil Lyman, who challenged Spencer Cox in the Republican primary. But overall, the incumbent is popular. The lean of the state is very red. Unless something totally insane happens, this should easily be safe for Spencer Cox. Now we go down to likely states, and we'll start in the Northwest. We've got Washington. This is Attorney General Bob Ferguson for the Dems against former U.S. Representative Dave Reichert for the Republicans. It is an open seat. Reichert is not a horrible fit for this state. Every once in a while, voters are looking for a change at the top of the ticket. We've seen it in a bunch of other red and blue states. It's possible this one does get competitive, but as of now, it doesn't look like it's happening just yet. Republicans have been absent from the governor's mansion here for many decades. It's a state to watch as we get in the home stretch, but for right now, Bob Ferguson, the Democrat, is going to get this by a likely margin. Some people are going to say this should be safe. I've heard other people say it should be lanes. My view is Ferguson is definitely favored, but it's not overwhelming, so it's going to go likely. Then we're going to go to the opposite coast and look at the Tar Heel state. That's North Carolina. And I think most people are familiar with this race at least a little bit. It's an open seat being vacated by Democrat Roy Cooper. It's Attorney General Josh Stein for the Democrats against Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson for the Republicans. Robinson has always been viewed as controversial, and he's really come under fire over the past few weeks. That looks like it's pretty much doomed his chances. A lot of the polling has shown this in double digits for Stein, the Democrat. Now, could that happen in the end? Yeah, that's possible. Robinson did get elected as lieutenant governor. That's impressive, but I think he was just too much of a wild card. Now, there could be some hidden Robinson vote out there that's not being captured in the polling, but you never know. There could be another scandal, and this thing could hit 15 or 16 points. So trying to project ahead, I'm actually going to make a last-minute change and just bump this up into safe territory for Stein. I could always take it back down to likely if needed. The last state is New Hampshire, and this is an open seat to replace Republican Chris Sununu. It's former U.S. Senator Kelly Ayotte for the Republicans against former Mayor of Manchester Joyce Craig for the Democrats. This state also had a fairly late primary. Craig's was much more competitive, but she was considered the more establishment choice. There's not a lot of polling since the primary, but we've seen one in each direction. On a federal level, this state definitely leans blue. Statewide Republicans should have more success, but can they hold this seat? It's a close call, but with Ayotte having higher name ID and being viewed as a little bit more centrist than her primary challenger, I'm going to keep the rating the same as a tilt for the Republicans. From what I've heard, some people think this is going to flip blue, and other people think that Ayotte is going to win rather comfortably by more than 5. We've got about a month to go. A lot can change in the end, and everybody's going to have their own reasons for their own ratings. But that would result in 8 seats for the Republicans and 3 for the Democrats. And none of these seats actually flip, but now New Hampshire is the most competitive. We'll be keeping an eye on a place like Indiana or Washington. Maybe there's some late movement in a place like Montana, West Virginia, or Delaware. It all depends on what you want to emphasize. Plenty of these states could use some more polling, but then again, it's possible the polling is way off. And as for North Carolina, I always thought Stein would be a little bit favored because I thought Robinson was going to be viewed as too controversial in the end. You could say that's an understatement, and Robinson is totally wiped out. But be on the lookout for some October surprises in some of these states and in some of these races. And that's it, so let me know in the comments, do you agree with this map, or would you change 1, 2, maybe 3 or 4 of these states? What do you think is going to happen in the final month? Let me know down below. On your way out, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and join if you'd like to support the channel. Hit the bell for notifications. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.